Good morning and welcome to Inside Tennessee. We hope you're having your great weekend and joining John North and me for this political discussion, our regular panel, and a new guest, not only to us but to Knoxville. We welcome to our discussion this morning Josh Dunn, who is the director of the Institute of American Civics that is under the Baker School. Nice to have you with us, sir.
Thanks. I'm delighted to be with you.
It's going to be a fun one. Susan Richardson Williams is a Republican. She runs her own PR firm. Nice to have you with us.
Good morning, John.
Don Bosch is a Democrat, runs his own PR firm. Good morning.
It'd be a law firm, but sometimes it's a PR firm.
I just like to see if you're awake on Sunday morning.
Just barely.
Well, thank you all for joining us because we're going to talk about civility in politics. John North.
What? What is that?
Is it gone?
What?
Is it gone? Well, you know, I suppose many people would say it is gone, although, and Josh will talk to us more about it, it has had its problems through the generations, in fact, anyway, in the legislature, whether it's State House or Congress.
It certainly is.
We are seeing a moment now, I would say.
We are. We're going to get to some of those moments. But Director Dunn, let's talk about your background and what brings you to the Baker School and your new role in the Institute of American Civics.
Well, I joined the Baker School just this past summer in the Institute, and I think we have two main goals. One is to improve civic knowledge. I'm a political scientist. For years, I've been working on trying to increase civic knowledge in students, and also in high school and K through 12 education. And then I also think one of our goals is to improve civil discourse. If you look at the legislation that created the Institute of American Civics, those are both part of our mandate from the legislature. And I think both are related to this, obviously, to this issue. I do think that lack of civic knowledge can contribute to some of the problems that we're seeing, but then, of course, civil discourse is on decline. We've seen a rise in what you call negative partisanship, and that's where people don't really vote for someone simply because they like that particular candidate or that particular party, but because they really dislike the other one. And I think that's a problem. I think we need to have a more positive vision, both parties and unique candidates on both sides presenting a positive vision for what they want for America. And so I think that's contributing to some of the problems that we see. And I hope that the Institute of American Civics can be part of the solution for that.
You talked about some of the problems we're seeing. We're going to get to examples of those, and then we'll broaden our discussion about those solutions and what's to come. Let's first, this morning, look at something that happened in the Tennessee state legislature between a Democrat and Republican just this month.
If you don't believe that coverings prevent the spread of disease, why do people cover their mouth and nose when they sneeze?
You're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. That's irrelevant to the bill. So,
no,
so
it's not.
Hey, don't interrupt me because I've been recognized.
Who are you
No,
talking
no,
to
no,
like
no,
that?
no,
You
no.
don't talk to me like that. Don't ever talk to me like that, ever
Don't
in your
you
life
interrupt me
again.
when
I'm telling you, don't you ever.
We're going to go back into session, and I want to ask both of you gentlemen to please remember where you are and what we're trying to do here. And let's do not make this personal. Please. Now, where were we?
Now, the person you couldn't really see in the video there was Representative Jason Zachary, a Republican in Knoxville. John, more background on that.
Right. So Jason, who's from our area, as you mentioned, had introduced in a subcommittee a bill regarding mask usage. He was not somebody who was a big champion of it when we were all going through COVID. And Vincent Dixie, who is a member of the House from Middle Tennessee, was asking him a question about, well, we always do this. What's wrong with masks? And you really sort of hit on this point. What's really obvious in terms of the dynamics there is these are not two men that particularly want to listen to each other or let each other finish their points. And then Zachary starts to sort of override Dixie, and Dixie's like, wait a minute. And the language there is really interesting in terms of no respect, no, not going to listen to you, and don't talk over me. And I think he says something like, I'm a man, which is sort of a phrase that says, you better back off, pal.
They both stand up, and it looks like there could be a physical confrontation. There wasn't. Okay, that's one example. But John, we're going to move to another.
So I think this one, if it's the one I think it is, it's Senator Todd Gardenhire, who's from the Chattanooga area. It's kind of interesting, and why I thought this might be a fun one to look at is this is in the Senate chamber. You're going to see Randy McNally, who we've had on this show before. He is the lieutenant governor, and he presides over the Senate. And Todd Gardenhire is really angry at another fellow Republican senator named Taylor. And I just kind of like how McNally tried to sort of, all right, boys, let's chill here a little bit.
Let's take a look at that.
that somebody in my community could commit such a heinous act to kill somebody and have a judge let them out on their own recognizance. If you think that's appropriate, then vote against this.
Mr. Speaker, I strongly object to somebody standing up here and saying, if you vote against this, you're for letting these criminals out. I demand an apology from Senator Taylor.
Just let's hold it down just a minute. Let's kind of cool it down a little bit.
Yeah, you see the lieutenant governor just trying to diffuse the situation a little bit there. Again, we're just showing a few examples, and then we'll get into this broader discussion. Let's look at one more from the Tennessee legislature, John.
One more, I think, if it's what we're talking about, it's Scott Sapicki and John Ray Clemens, and they're having a discussion, I think it's in a committee meeting, about Nashville schools. Clemens sends his kids there. He takes great offense because he says Sapicki makes a terrible crack about Nashville schools, a derogatory word which we won't use, but you could guess among some possibles, and you can see sort of the facial expressions there. That's Clemens on the right, and he is not happy with what Sapicki has just said.
No video of this, but this picture is what we're talking about. It's symbolic of that physical nature of these conflicts that are getting personal. All right, Director Dunn, before we go to the national stage, let's talk about just sort of that behavior that we're seeing, not just in the Tennessee legislature, but really across the board when it comes to politics right now.
Sure. So obviously politics is an emotional business, and people are they've always taken it seriously. Historically, we've seen people get very angry and excited, and so I'm not actually certain that some of what we're seeing there is terribly unusual. I do think that what we are seeing, though, is just an overall tenor now, where in general people seem to be less tolerant, less willing to engage, less willing to discuss with other people. I just don't know that in the heat of the moment on the floor of the legislature that's going to be terribly surprising. But I think that we all do have good reason to be concerned compared to the past. Now, obviously, there have been moments in American history when emotions have been even higher than they are right now. But we certainly, it's not like you want to celebrate these kinds of emotional moments. But again, politics, it's normal for people to take it seriously, and it can be considered a full contact sport in that sense. So I don't want to exaggerate the nature of the problem or these particular moments that we've seen, but I also don't want to minimize the fact that we have seen, I think, an overall decline in civil discourse.
We're going to dig into that with our panel with some questions after this for Director Dunn and each other, and we'll be back on Inside Tennessee right after this.